Welcome, everybody, to another episode of This, That, and the Other. This is episode 7, and today our guest is Bigpoppa85, who has been a member since March of 2009, 274 conference championships to his credit, and 90, that's correct, 90 national championships, and an astronomical winning percentage of .908. I didn't even have grades that good in school. Big Papa, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, we're looking forward to speaking with you today. And as you know how the format is set up, we'll go ahead and get started right away with the initial information. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, anything you're willing to share with us.
I'm 34. Grew up in Oklahoma. Moved out to West Texas, the Amarillo area, about 13 years ago. I've got a couple boys, 5th and 7th graders. I help coach their sports, football, basketball, baseball, stuff like that. I'm in real estate investing, self-employed, so it kind of gives me a little bit more free time to do this kind of stuff, all the dynasty stuff. So I've really enjoyed that.
Well, we do appreciate you joining us today, and we'll go ahead and get started with question 1, and that is, what qualities do you look for in a sack monster defensive lineman?
Oh, man. Honestly, I just go with the cores. Mainly, athleticism, strength, tackle, and some instinct. I don't really. I just always kind of go for balance on all across the board, basically, and including on that.
Now, this is a question that I haven't even looked at your rosters to know the answer, but the proverbial kicker punter question: do you keep one of each, none, or just one, and why?
Right, that's a good question. I've actually done it all. There's probably 3 ways or 4 ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I keep a kicker and punter. I've done it previously. I thought I would try to cheat the system a little bit and either have a kicker or a punter. And I did better with having one punter and no kicker than vice versa. But still, I've just kind of decided that it's one roster spot, so that's 2% of your roster, and it's a guy that's going to make an impact on every single game, multiple times a game, and it's worth it to me to carry a punter and a kicker.
Absolutely, yeah, that's one way to look at it, because you do have, unless you've got an offense like mine, your punter gets wore out.
Right. Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of games like that, yeah. And I noticed that with a kicker can't punt very well. A punter can kick pretty good.
Correct.
But you lose it on the kickoffs, I noticed. You lose about 10 to 15 yards, and that was where I started noticing a big difference. It wasn't so much the field goals or the punts, it was the kickoffs. So there's a downside to having one kicker, no punter, and one punter, no kicker. So I just went with both.
That's good information, good insight into some of the aspects that a lot of us just overlook by looking primarily at, the field goals and the extra points made and miss ratio instead of the distance on the kickoff. So excellent point. Now, how often do you recruit a player knowing you're going to change his position?
Not very often. I've tried it several different times. The one that I do the most would be wide receiver to tight end. I've done that several times. I've done the DB to linebacker a few times too, to kind of get some better coverage skills. But I don't do it very often.
All right, we're going to go ahead and hit into our first commercial break. So don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hey, Columbus, we can't turn back without an order from you. I'm not talking while the flavor lasts. What are you chewing? Peach nut gum? We could be in for a long voyage.
I've heard so much about Magic Touch, Campana's new cream makeup. Is it so very different from other makeups?
It's so different that you'll never believe how much prettier it will make you until you try it. Magic Touch is a cream complexion makeup that you apply with your fingertips. No powder puff, no water. You can use it anytime, anywhere, and it literally performs magic for your complexion. Gives you that new complexion loveliness that women are demanding today, the unmade-up look. Magic Touch provides a feminine, delicate, fragile makeup beauty, the Dresden doll-like complexion that women are seeking.
Did a headache spoil the day for you? Are you still feeling a little miserable and upset? Well, of course, it would have been wise to take Alka-Seltzer at work earlier in the day. But don't wait now. Take it right away. And next time, remember that Alka-Seltzer is first aid for relief from headache. Alka-Seltzer is easy to take, pleasant tasting, too. Here's all you do. Dissolve 1 or 2 Alka-Seltzer tablets in a glass of water, then drink it. Since Alka-Seltzer is a solution when you take it, the pain-relieving analgesic sodium acetylsalicylate is ready to go right to work. And say, that fizz that creates thousands of sparkling bubbles gives speed to Alka-Seltzer's relief-giving qualities. Yes, it gets there fast to give fast relief. So remember, first aid for relief from headache is Alka-Seltzer.
Welcome back, listeners. We appreciate you tuning us back in. We're with Bigpoppa85 here today, and we're starting the second segment of episode number 7. Now, these questions, these 4 in this segment, are very similar, or they have a lot in common, so to speak. So I grouped them into one segment instead of having this spread out throughout the course of the episode. And we're going to go ahead and start with, what's your preferred offense?
I'm pretty diverse, really. No matter what, basically I go for balance. I like to run and pass depending on what I feel like is going to give me the best advantage. And I think you can do that at pretty much every formation. I've never used shotgun very much, but I typically use pro, box, and wishbone, all 3.
Well, is that what makes your offense potent? Because that's the next question on the list. What makes your offense potent?
I think it helps. I know occasionally it'll surprise people if I've been running out of pro set and then all of a sudden I switch to pass. But really, it's all the same. It's just different. It's in different formations. It just gives a different look. Window dressing, basically,
Any tips on isolating your wide receiver against a defense in order to get him the most looks or catches? What do you do to make that happen?
Actually, I don't do that very well. That's one thing I've been experimenting on and trying to get better at, and I'm not very good at it at this point.
Do you ever run your wide receiver? And if so, what situations dictate that you run him?
I've tried it a little bit, and I haven't had much success out of it, really, so I don't.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for segment number 2. Come back and join us right after this.
Are you a man but you're turned off by monster trucks? Have you ever watched the bridges of Madison County? Have you forgotten how to scratch yourself? If so, talk to your doctor, because you could be one of the 10 million men suffering in silence from a condition known as menopause. Menopause afflicts men over the age of 40 and is one of the leading causes of depression, the loss of manliness, and the popularity of movies starring Owen Wilson. But there is hope. Girly Man No More. Girly Man No More has been scientifically and clinically proven to increase manliness. Talk to your doctor to see if Girly Man No More is right for you. Girly Man No More should only be used as directed by your physician. Possible side effects include death, sudden loss of limbs, temporary disembowelment, rage, clammy hands, hairy palms, hearing voices, busy signals, extreme attraction to squirrels, and fear of elevators. Girly Man No More is not for men who are pregnant or who may become pregnant. Do not take Girly Man No More if you have hands or if you are currently taking any other medicine. So talk to your doctor and call now for a free trial. Girly Man No More. Also available in a topical cream. But that's just wrong.
And welcome back. We're in segment 3. Bigpoppa85 joining us, and we're going to jump right in and ask him, which is more important in your running backs, speed or elusiveness, and why do you think that?
Definitely elusiveness. I would say speed is probably the third most important. Elusiveness, that would be one thing that when I was starting out, I didn't understand exactly what each rating meant for each position. And so starting out, I just thought, well, speed for running back, that's got to be the biggest deal. And so I recruited to that when I first started in GD, however long ago that was. But I've had a lot better success using strength and elusiveness as the top two cores.
Now, I've noticed that you have teams from the West Coast to the East Coast and from the North to the South. You're just all over the map. How do you keep track of your teams? Do you use a spreadsheet, some other software, or do you go the old-fashioned route with pen and paper?
A little bit of everything, really. I'm just kind of the way the recruiting calendar breaks down. I usually have a recruiting session coming up every week or so. So whenever I'm in that current recruiting session, that's just where my focus goes. And sometimes I'll look when I'm actually trying. I'll look and see who has moved in to the neighboring schools, the local schools, and just kind of come up with a game plan. Like I haven't done that in a long time. I've been a little, my interest in the game has kind of dropped, so I decided to try D1 a little bit. And since I've done that, I've done a little bit more with pen and paper, just figuring out, I'll have say 5 or 6 local schools, how many scholarships they have, break it down by position, how many, offensive linemen I expect them to take, how many quarterbacks and things like that. And then at BYU, I made a list of a top 10 at each position within 1,000 miles. Because at BYU, you have to recruit within 1,000 miles. There's nothing within your 180 hardly. So, and I broke that down by the top 10 at each position. And then I went through, and this is when I had a lot of extra time. And I guessed on which school each player would end up at. And it was kind of interesting to see. I did the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and offensive line. And then I got distracted. So I did, 4 position groups and 40 players. So it was interesting to see where it all shook out and where they all landed. So that was kind of fun.
You mentioned earlier at the onset that you're involved in real estate. If you didn't have your current real life job, where would you see yourself working, or what would you see yourself doing?
That's actually a really interesting question. I've decided in the past few months, I guess it was about 6 months ago, I decided that my business has been kind of stabilized, and I've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years, and I stepped away these last 6 months to see if I could actually make this happen. But I'm going to not necessarily make a career change, but a career addition, and I am going into coaching and teaching. So that's actually something I'm going to add, and I can lean on my property managers a little bit more, my contractors a little bit more, and still, my business isn't as efficient, but the coaching and teaching is something that I've always been passionate about. I've done it for free, volunteering, year-round basically for the last 10 years. So it's something that as my kids are aging out of the youth sports, I'm missing it. So I'm going to decide to go back into that.
That's a great endeavor, and I commend you for that pursuit. I actually was blessed in having coached youth football for, probably 10 or 12 years. I wish you all the best in that endeavor. I think you're going to really enjoy it, and you'll reap the rewards many years to come. Well, we're going to go ahead and close this off now. So, it's time for those 10 questions for our next interviewee, and I believe that's going to be Seabreak for episode 8. So go ahead and give us those 10 numbers that he will have questions matched up to.
All right. I'm going to go with 2, 3, and 6, which are my kids' sports numbers. 10, which was my number growing up. 15, which is a local guy here. I think it's Kay Trotter. That's he's just getting back into the game. 21 was another one of my numbers. 24, 32, 44. How many is that?
That is 9.
And we'll just go 50.
All right. Sounds good to close it up. Now, before we go off the air, I always give our guests an opportunity to close the show with any insights, thoughts, or comments.
I would just like to see the numbers go up in GD. So maybe, especially with everything we've got going on right now in the world, maybe we can do a little advertising and recruiting as far as getting other coaches involved and make it a more competitive and kind of fill out the worlds.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see that. A lot more opportunities to learn things when you've got more people playing the game, the injection of new blood, as you will, that we've seen here recently. I know the message boards seem to be a bit more active with some questions that, to the old hats seem like, oh my gosh, how many times do we have to answer this? But the reality is a lot of these newcomers just really do not have the answers readily available, either because they don't know where to look or they haven't understood when it has been posted. So I agree.
Right.
The more people that join GD, the better off the overall world will be. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time and look forward to visiting with you again in the future. Thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Again, folks, thanks for listening and tuning in. This has been episode 7. I'm Magic, your host on This, That, and the Other.